Sometimes I wonder what would happen if my 20-year-old self, stressed, lonely, and homesick, would not have found a good counselor. Would I be giving this TEDx talk today? Would I be addressing this wonderful audience in front of me? Perhaps not. Actually, definitely not. Let me take you back to my story. I was this 20-year-old on a journey to discover myself. For the first time, I had shifted from my home city to a completely new city to do my masters. Now, this was a very difficult phase of my life. For the first time, I was moving away from the comfort of my home, trying to make new friends in college at the age of 20, attending college every day because attendance was compulsory with a pile of heavy counseling books. Life was difficult and it was happening to me for the first time. I was scared, I was lonely, and I was crying. But at the same time, along with this storm of my emotions, my university kept me busy by giving its fair share of surprises. Unrealistic deadlines, at least in my head. College had just started and we started receiving tons of submissions. Surprise tests were weekly business. And newsflash, we had to take 10 sessions of mandatory therapy for ourselves. Yes, you heard that right. It was a compulsory condition for us. If it was not, I don't think so I would have ever taken therapy for myself. Like 80% of our population, I was practically unaware of what happens in the four wall of therapy room. How will it really help me? And the most pressing question, do I really need it? What's wrong with me? But today when I look back, I knew what were the exact dangers I was in. Because at that time, the most pressing decision for me was whether to buy an HP laptop or a Lenovo laptop. But now that I'm in this field more than 3 years, having seen hundreds of clients, when they come to me feeling completely lost and resistant towards therapy, it's very difficult for me to watch. Some of their narratives were very shocking. I want you to pay careful attention to these stories that clients have shared with me. I felt she was advising me like I'm her child. When I told him my views, I could literally see judgment on his face. I felt like she was giving me generalized solutions. She ended up sharing my secrets with father. I felt betrayed. Each of these stories scream breach of ethical mental health practices. If you have heard them very carefully, you could be one of these people. If you are not putting a lot of thought and effort of how to choose a right mental health professional to give your own mental health in their responsible hands, then it will be very difficult for you. When I heard these stories, I was very intrigued to know what's really happening in this profession. So I tried to do a qualitative research on 14 mental health professionals from Mumbai and from Bangalore. What I found from this study was very interesting and even alarming. Right from having very little understanding of ethics and law in the mental health field, to doing short-term courses and then falling into the psychology field calling themselves therapists. I thought, what a waste of 7 years of my studies. I also found that 65% of professionals do not seek therapy themselves. Imagine me fighting with my parents at home and coming and taking your session. How would that session go? It will be very miserable for your mental health and for mine as well. It is also very disturbing that for counseling psychologists, there is no license exam, there is no government, and there is no ruling authority that will govern the practices run by mental health professionals. This is a most pressing need that was back then and still remains. So if you are in the same place that I was in back that time to choose a right therapist, I hope this following checklist will help you in making that correct, responsible and impactful decision for yourself. Minimum master's degree in counseling psychology, does not indulge in advice giving or giving personal opinions, uses scientific evidence-based practices, charges fees for services and meets only in professional setting, having open and flexible mind about differences in opinions, and lastly, seeks personal therapy and supervision for themselves. Okay, now that we have talked a lot about how to choose a mental health professional, I'm sure that you all are equipped here to choose a correct, good and ethical mental health professional for yourself. Now I want you to just focus back at me again and have your complete attention, especially all the millennials out there. So currently, what situation are we facing? What are we going through? The pandemic, right? So since the pandemic has happened, our world is completely shifted online. Right from attending birthday parties, attending weddings, joining virtual workouts, to even working from home. Sorry, a small correction, working from your beds. And this is working out very well for you millennials because it's comfortable, it's very convenient, it is virtual and also involves a gadget in your hand. If your mother tells you to buy vegetables, what do? You order them online. If your AC is not working, you order a technician online. Yes, nowadays even people can be ordered online. If you're not feeling well, if your days are not so great, if you're going through low phase of your life, what do? You download a mental health app. Yes, an app for mental health. Now what worries me in this is that these kind of apps, they give you generalized solutions, they give you quick fixes, they give you ready-made solutions. But what worries me is that this is not therapy, guys. Therapy requires dedication. It requires long-term efforts. Here they are giving you very pocket-friendly therapy, which is almost for 299 rupees. My nephew's toys are more expensive than that. If our problems are not developed overnight, then how can you expect that you will get the solutions in just one moment like that? It requires for you to get in touch with the root of your emotional problems and then trying to deal with them. Therapy process requires great amount of time, effort and long-term dedication. Now I also wanted to make this shift online, trying to connect with my clients, trying to give my services on an accessible medium for them. But when I actually fall into that field, I saw various online platforms, and what I was taught back then and what was really happening in the field was very contradictory and there was no match at all. I couldn't stand it. So I thought, let me start by my own. I wanted to start my own mental health organization and I started it. I named it as Mind Voyage, a journey within. And I decided that I will work on 3 aims and will stick very firmly to that. The first one was making therapy very normal, normalizing the entire process, destigmatizing therapy. Second was to make my service very accessible through online mediums. And third, very important, keeping ethical practices and legal laws in place and by adhering them, trying to give out the traditional therapy. But when I moved forward, this journey was not so easy. I was competing with very large platforms, big websites with a lot of fundings, tech-savvy apps, and here I was having zero presence online. Nowhere my name was there on Google. I had no social media whatsoever. But I wanted to start with baby steps. So I started my Instagram page. And that was because I like writing posts. I like creating creative mediums. I like writing. So I started with that. I also made my own website and tried to hire a professional from technology background to do that for me. Today there are about 1500 people who are using Mind Voyage for their mental health services, and this was only possible because I took that external help which was required. Over the time, if I have realized anything, if you are not aware as a consumer of what you want, then people will fool you. If you don't know what is it that you're looking for, then it's very easy to take your advantage. This decision of going to therapy and choosing your counselor is very important and crucial decision in your life. It can either make or break your mental health. As I have seen bad therapy outcomes, I also have seen good therapy outcomes. And this is literally the point that I tried to make today through my talk. Just consider this example. When you are, if at all, you had to go through a surgery, what do you do? What kind of background check do you do on that doctor? You will read their Google reviews. You will go to the hospital that they are working for. You will try to gain feedback from all possible sources that you can. Also, you will go and talk to that doctor, right? So why not do the same when it comes to your mental health? At the end, a peaceful mind will only lead to a happy life. So after hearing today's talk, I hope that you all are very well equipped to choose your right therapist and have open frame of mind towards seeking a professional help when it comes to your mental health. And this one question will drive you: is your mental health in safe hands? Thank you.